Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. As the judge, I'm Anne Tardy, okay, debate coordinator for this today's debate, and I would like to welcome both teams for this second round of the high school debate. The motion for today is this House would abolish the ethical tax for sex workers in the porn industry. For context, in Italy, the so-called ethical tax is a 25% surcharge added on top of ordinary income tax, specifically applied to income earned from the production or sale of pornographic content. So now let me introduce the judges. We have the Judge Orsatti.
Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. No, good evening at this time.
Yes. And we have Judge Rolla as well.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, thank you both. And now we have the teams who will introduce themselves. So speaking for the proposition team, we have the Mosè Bianchi team with the first speaker of proposition.
Mario Mancino, first speaker from side proposition.
Okay. Thank you. The second speaker?
Sofia Gulshan, second speaker, proposition.
Sorry, Sofia?
Golshan is Golshan.
Okay. And the third speaker?
Giada Gambino.
Okay. I thought Giada would turn the camera on. Who will do the rebuttal? Sorry?
I was trying to turn it on. I don't know why it's not working currently, but in case, I'll just do it with my phone and you can see from this camera too.
Okay. Who will do the rebuttal?
I will do the rebuttal.
Okay.
I mean, reply.
I didn't get the name of the speaker for the reply speech.
Sofia Golshan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, team. So now we have the speaking for the opposition. We have the Brr Brr Patapim. Okay, so the first speaker.
Emma Patriarca, first speaker of the opposition side.
Okay. The second speaker.
Second speaker of opposition side, Maria Paun. Paun.
Thank you. Third speaker.
Third speaker, Endritafa. ENDRRI.
Yes, thank you.
TAFA. Okay.
Thank you. And the rebuttal.
Emma Patriarca.
Okay, thank you, teams. So I encourage both of you to deliver a respectful debate, and without further ado, well, I'll set the timer, and we will begin with the first speaker of the proposition. Whenever you're ready, please let us know.
Just a second, please. Is everyone ready? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. As side proposition first speaker, three main things. First, I'm going to do some clarification on framework, and then I'm going to walk you through our first and second substanding. Now, let's start with framework. So, on side proposition, we have two main ideas. The first one is that porn industry is a harmful industry that exploits millions of people in the world and that ultimately ruins lives. And then second, the tax is not a useful solution to the problem, and it actually ends up worsening the issue. Now, on stakeholder analysis, we want to clarify one specific thing. So in our first argument, we'll tackle and analyze the stakeholder that represents the majority of women who are involved in the industry. That is, women who are forced to join the industry and do not have the desire to do it. Then we tell you that on the idea that there are women who join the industry because they are influenced to do so, and they believe it will make them do a lot of money, we tell you that this is not an important stakeholder in the round, because A, this is a very small minority of people, and second, this minority does not care about the tax, because either First, they don't look enough into it to learn about the tax in the first place, because they join simply because of the propaganda that they find on social media, or if they don't have a need for the industry. There are already so many other reasons to discourage them, such as data that can be easily found online on people who actually earning a lot of money through the industry, or the reputation and social repercussions, or the future job opportunity losses. So at the end, they will join this word anyway. So if they are not pushed by need, but by simple greed and ignorance, a simple tax will not be enough to solve the issue. Practically speaking, they will think this, for example, oh, this porn star is rich, so I'll join porn too so that I can enrich myself, and then I won't have to worry about the taxes. So even though that is just a false hope. Now, we tell you that on our side, as we will see in our second argument, we believe that there are much more efficient ways to disencourage porn industries. So this looks like talking about it in schools, or making public campaigns, or creating support groups for people involved in the industry, or creating legal repercussions for those who are involved in the managing and production of the videos. Now, let's move on to our first segmentation. It traps women in the industry. So, the sad truth side opposition needs to deal with is that the majority of people do not want to work in the industry because they feel forced to do so, and they end up choosing that path as their last resort. So, let us provide you with a scenario that provides this situation. Imagine you're a 19-year-old girl and you don't have an high school diploma because you went through so much during your school years that you couldn't bear to finish it. And also, you've already been fired from several jobs because the economy is hurting so much that the contracts are often temporary, and the majority of the fields you can access, such as the restoration field, for example, keeps on cutting staff because they are struggling as well. So you don't have access to economic support. You're 19 years old and feel lost. So you have to pay rent, and the prices are skyrocketing because of the housing crisis. So the reality is that there are other solutions you could access, but at the time, you are so desperate that you end up choosing to become a porn actress because that might at least help you get till the end of the month. Now, mind you, that for most people, this is a temporary solution because the amount of women that actually dream of their body being seen as an object and having to endure the terrible treatment within the industry is so low that if they are not discouraged to join the industry by the inherent repercussions, that means that they are really desperate for the money. So here is where the tax actually makes the situation a lot worse, because we tell you that the reality is that you don't immediately make a lot of money by working in this industry. Unless you're an A-list sports celebrity, you will barely make it. And then also, you already have to pay taxes on your earnings, and if you want to become legally protected, you probably have to share some of the money with the agency. And because we're in Italy, you probably have to pay IVA too. Now, this means that the amount of money you're making is actually not a lot. Furthermore, once you join the industry, getting out of it is very difficult on its own because of two things. First, of internal pressure, because the porn industry wants you to stay within the industry. Then second, social pressure, because you feel like you won't be accepted back into society. And this is bad because it is not easy for them to just quit, because it is the only possible source of income for them, as already explained. Now, the issue is far worsened by this tax, because when you have to pay a 25% tax on top of the little money you're already earning, that means that you'll be left with even less money. So this means that you'll have to stay longer in the industry, because it becomes more difficult to save up enough money to emancipate yourself. So the longer you stay in the industry, the more difficult it is to leave the industry, because the pressure becomes exponentially higher with time. So your reputation is further damaged, and more people know about your job, so you become part of the net. So it becomes basically impossible to get out of it. So at the end of the day, the tax that was supposed to be the solution to an issue ends up worsening the situation even more by getting the majority of the women in worse economic situation, worse dependence from the industry, or by getting them trapped in the industry and fundamentally traumatizing them. Now, if side opposition wants to say that the tax is enough to disencourage these women from joining the industry, they have to first prove that this is working in the status quo, which is factually untrue, seeing the rise of popularity of OnlyFans, for example. But second, they have to prove that women that are so desperate, they are willing to sacrifice their mental health and traumatize themselves, will have access to the education that informs them about the tax in the first place, and that the tax will be enough to stop them from joining. Now, let's see another reason why the tax is actually exacerbating the issue. Do you have a POI?
Yes.
Tell me.
You keep mentioning women, but also aren't there also men that are put into these situations? But
Of
they don't
course, there are
always do
many
it.
possible situation, but women are the ones that are in the first place, because there are millions of women, not just in Italy, but also around the world. And I can make you an example with Mia Khalifa. See Mia Khalifa, she was a porn actress, but after some years on the industry, when she was forced, she just quit it with a very difficult process. Now, let's move on to our second argumentation. It hinders real change. So let's start from the premise that government only has a limited amount of political capital that can invest in each issue and must solve. So this means that once they have to tackle a problem, they choose how to do it and they invest an amount of capital. So the issue for them is off the table. So their job as the government has been done. So when they're tackling the issue of the industry, they choose to disencourage it by imposing this tax. So this means that they are now able to claim that they already taken responsibility for the issue and they will not take further action on it. So, however, we already proved that first, the tax is not working, and second, it actually harms people. So if the stakeholders they want to tackle out the millionaires involved in the industry, first, they should exponentially increase the percentage, but this would end up harming even more the stakeholder. And second, we tell you that the principle and idea behind this ethical tax is just wrong. I mean, is a tax really going to stop the porn industry? No, it is not. And we also say without 1,000 on example. Let's take Russia, for example. Is Russia really going to stop attacking Ukraine because the EU has imposed sanctions on them? No, they're not. So also, when we tell you that as proposing we want the government to take away the taxes so that the problem is back on the table, this means that the government now must act in order to solve it. So they will have to invest in ways that can actually be useful. So they will tackle the problem from the roots. So we've already explained to you how this tax is useless and does not solve the problem. So by not imposing this tax anymore, the government would be practically forced to take further action into the situation in a more efficient way. So this looks like talking about it in schools, or making campaigns about it, or making groups that help people who are being forced into this industry to get away from it. Thank you.
Okay, 8 minutes and 05. Thank you very much. Okay. First speaker of the opposition, whenever you're ready.
Okay, my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, I'm Emma Patriarca, the first speaker of the opposition side. Before explaining our arguments, I want to talk about what the first speaker of the proposition side said. He said that keeping the tax prevents the problem. He said that the tax makes the problem of pornography addiction even worse and worsen the situation of especially women that are pornographic creators, artists, and feel obliged to become pornographic artists. The tax actually prevents this problem from getting worse because it limits production and reduces pressures on workers. Many claims that the porn industry is harmful, coercive, and damaging. And even if that's true, removing the ethical tax makes only everything worse, because without the tax, the industry becomes cheaper to run and more profitable. The tax is not the cause of the problem. It's one of the few tools that actually show how the industry can be taken down. Another problem that was explained by the first speaker of the proposition side was the harm of women. The tax actually doesn't harm women because it targets the profits of large platforms and not vulnerable workers. Yes.
We gave you an entire first argument on why the people who are actually harmed by the tax are those who do not make a lot of money by the industry. Please engage with it.
Like we're gonna say after when I'm gonna present the arguments, the tax, and like the motion said, the tax especially impacts big industries that especially have a large source of income from the production of pornographic content. And so we're not focusing especially on pornographic artists and women, if we want to limit the pornographic actors to women. But we think that the tax should only impact the big industries, the big pornographic industries. Anyway, the tax, I'm gonna explain also in an argument later on, the tax doesn't harm women because it targets the profit of large platforms and not vulnerable workers. Notes repeatedly mention women being forced or manipulated into becoming a pornographic artist, but the ethical tax is applied on the industry, which is really concentrated in agencies, studios, and online platforms, and it's not in the hands of individual workers. Keeping the tax, in fact, cuts into the profits of those who benefit the most from the exploitation of the workers in the pornographic industry, and doesn't increase the vulnerability of workers while also preventing the industry from expanding unchecked. By saying that, I'm gonna start to talk about the arguments we found in this debate. Firstly, I want to talk about the status quo because the proposition squad didn't mention the status quo. And to our day, pornographic industries in Italy are subjected to a 25% tax on production and sale of pornographic content. And until today, the tax is paid and affects all the industries involved. Actors and pornographic companies and producers are involved in this motion. The first argument we found is especially keen on discouraging the production and the consume of pornographic content. The ethical tax exists primarily as a policy tool to discourage both the production and the consumption of pornographic content. Porn is an industry with significant social externalities because it can normalize unrealistic expectation even about our appearance, and it contributes in addiction-like behaviors because like we all know, pornographic content can take to an addiction in the long time and create a constant demand that often translates into pressure on workers to produce more extreme material. By keeping the tax in place, the state signals that pornography is not a neutral product like any other we can find on the market, but a sector that carries concrete risk to customers and workers. The second argument I'm gonna talk about is especially based on the ethical regulation and economic redistribution. The ethical tax is justified not only on moral grounds, but also on economic ones, because the pornography market has expanded very quickly over the years, while generating and growing profits on the platforms, agencies, and many producers. The state has a legitimate interest in capturing part of the revenue of pornographic agencies, particularly because such profits are often concentrated in the hands of intermediates and not in the hands of the workers themselves. Maintaining the ethical tax allows the government to share these earnings, the earnings that come from the pornographic agencies, into public resources or into support programs for individuals that may be exploited or pressured within the industry. And in this sense, the tax acts as both a moral sign and a redistributive mechanism that balances economically the pornographic sector and the economy factor of public interest. The last argument that will be explained by the second speaker of the opposition side will be about reducing pressure and exploitation within the industry. But like I said, the second speaker of the opposition side will talk about it better afterwards. And with that, I finish my speech and I thank you.
Thank you. 7 minutes and 47. Are the judges ready? Yes? Okay. Okay, so second speaker of the proposition team, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so just a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, basically what opposition is trying to tell us is that by actually taxing the industries, you cannot harm the actual people that work in the industries. So in consequence, you're not basically harming the women, the men, or in general, the workers of the porn industry. What we're telling you is logic. It's logical. When you tax an industry, it means that you're also taxing the people that are working in it. What does it mean? That if someone, the industry that is producing something is taxed, the consequences are also on the people that are actually working the industry. So also their income is lessened. But we're telling you also that the industries are not that much impacted because throughout the years, they still exist. And actually, they have even increased in the years. But the sex industries, the workers in these industries, on the other part, they're actually harmed by the taxes imposed. And we're also, the whole opposition side's framework and arguments are based on how the tax shouldn't be abolished because it is ethical tool and it actually helps to discourage the porn industry. What we're telling you and what we have told you during the first speaker's speech is that this actually is not true. The first argument that we have brought you, demonstrated you, is clearly because first of all, we're telling you that it's harming the stakeholders, and the majoritarian stakeholder that we have tackled are women. So there is a POI coming from the opposition side, which is not only women are working in this industry. We are telling you, we recognize that, but we're telling a majoritarian stakeholder. This doesn't mean that also the men that are working in these industries are not impacted, but we're telling you that because the majoritarian stakeholder are the women, they are the most harmful, they are the most harmed by this tax. We're telling you that they are harmed mainly because there are two types of people. We have told you that there are the not actually informed people that get into the industry, that they're not affected by a tax and they do not actually get the harm, but we're not going to tackle them because this motion is not about them. But we're telling you that the majoritarian part of women actually get into the industries because they're pushed from society, from needs, income needs, to actually get into this industry to get money. But this tax actually harms them. How does it harm them? Because if they are paying or their income is even less by 25%, basically what we're telling you is that they're gonna have even more trouble getting out of the industry in the first place. So that is harmful. That is also inefficacy. We're talking about inefficacy. That's because mainly if these workers keep working in these industries are going to persist over the years, and they're going to be there. They're not going to get out of this harmful environment, and this is how the tax actually influences them. And then on the second argument that we have told you, and we have demonstrated to you that the tax doesn't discourage the porn, because the governments actually, they're trying to push the idea that they're trying to do something in order to actually discourage the porn industries. But as we have told you during our second argumentation, this is actually not true. The government have little government capital, which means that there are many problems. They are to focus on each one of them, but they have like a limited focus time. We're telling you that they focus on this by saying that we're imposing the tax, we're doing the right thing, but actually there are more efficacious things that they can do. For example, imposing tax to the rich, or for example, educating people on this fact, or even making the porn industry illegal from the start. As we have demonstrated you by the first two arguments, this is not, we tell you how the framework and the argumentations of opposition doesn't work, because the actual tax doesn't discourage porn, actually it worsens the situation. By saying that, we have to move on to our third argumentation, which is how the governments gain from this unethical money, let's say. So why is the ethical tax actually required? The logical answer to this question is that in order to make it more ethical and to discourage people from getting into the actual industry in the first place, or even try to create a disadvantage in terms of income of these industries, this tax is actually required. So basically the money that sex workers gain from these jobs is perceived as unethical, because the job is unethical from the start, and for all the reasons said before in the tax. We tell you that the tax is contradictory in the first place, because A, if the job is unethical, so is the money, so it shouldn't be invested in something else, especially governments, to make it more ethical. So the government is choosing to let this industry exist instead of using the techniques to actually eradicate it, as we have said before, and then this means that by earning taxes through the industry, the government is making money. Side opposition might make it look like, like it's a bad industry, we might as well use the money to help society. But the reality is that this is not actually a trade-off. We are willing to accept when the government creates a tax and calls the ethical tax, it's depicting itself as an ethical actor, therefore they are saving their image. In reality, they're not the ethical actor, insofar as they are not using this money to actually educate people to educate the people and shut off these industries from the start. In the long term, the tax is a fake solution that doesn't actually tackle the big, let's say, cheeses in the industries. That harms small creators, traps people in the industry, and earns the government's money, money that is not well spent, insofar as how we explained it in the second argument. The government has no incentives to reinvest in the system. They choose to reinvest it in the privatizations of the public sector instead, on the other projects that are less relevant. So, at the end of the day, it is an unethical, inefficient solution, as we have demonstrated to our three argumentations. So basically, by abolishing the tax, the positive impacts that on side proposition we're trying to bring you is, first of all, no contradiction from the government regarding the ethical issue, as we have said, in investing the money or reinvesting the money or getting the money in the first place. And then B, we're talking about the sex workers. They keep the money, so if they have an actual possibility of change of the solution, actually more ethical than the tax and how the government uses it in the first place. And then By saying this argumentation, we have demonstrated you that is more ethical abolishing this tax rather than keeping it in the first place. The ethical part on prop side is education for long-term solution in order to make it illegal. Education is key to actually make this the porn industry illegal, and to make people finally perceive porn as it is, as in that is harmful for the society. With that, I conclude my speech. Thank you.
Okay, 7 minutes and 38. Are you good, judges? Yes? Okay, so second speaker of the opposition team, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, first things first, first things first, I'm the second speaker of the opposition team, and I will start by confronting what the speaker from the proposition, first and second speaker of the proposition team said. And then I will continue with the arguments that our first speaker said, first of opposition, and then adding another one, the one with reducing the harm on the workers. Okay, first things first, the first speaker of opposition talked about completely taking away the porn industry. Now, there's a problem with that. The porn industry, okay, it's not a good industry. We can all agree on that, right? And the thing is, the porn industry, one, it prevents other violent crimes. It prevents people from deciding, you know what? I don't have a girlfriend. I need something. I need that stimuli, and they'll just go out and rape someone. Might as well get paid for it. We're not saying it's a good thing, but we're saying that it's better to get paid for it when you also need the money than just be a random person of opportunity. Another thing.
Right?
Yeah, yes. Go.
Yes, so that's exactly our point, right? You're taking away money from people that need that money in the first place when you tax them at 25% more.
Yeah. Let me continue, please. Okay. The thing is, the tax this ethnical tax, it's to not stop people, but to prevent people who have an education, who could who could get a different job, a job that's more, let's say, ethnical, more normal, let's say, like that, in quotes. The tax would prevent people who have a choice. Unlike the ones who really don't have a choice, in that case, you're giving them a job. Isn't that a good thing? Giving them a job, even if the job isn't great, it's still getting the money. And if we take away this tax, then not only will we be increasing the violence against people in general, men too, that still exists, and women, but not yet. But you would also be making that the government will try to help the people with the money that they could be using, but you're taking away jobs that these people really need, and helping them with the government has never really successfully. The government isn't great at helping these people. At least these people they're doing a job. Okay, they are contributing to avoiding violence, sexual violence, to be exact. Another thing is the getting out of the industries. Even once you have money, getting out of the industries it's hard to get out of the industry, okay? I mean, I understand that you want to abolish the whole thing, but by abolishing it, as I said before, it has other really bad consequences, and you're still leaving these people without a job, and if the government just gives them money, it wouldn't really work. I mean, even if they give them other jobs, but they could have gotten those jobs in another way. We agree that the ethnical tax isn't ethical, but indeed is economic. It's more the economic side, and also stopping people from joining it. Public sectors. The second speaker said that they should use the money in public sectors to like educate people. Well, public sectors include schools. Schools educate people, so more educated people means less people who need to be in the industry, in the sex industry. I'm sorry, but no. Okay, another thing is less competition. If you have less sex workers, then you have less competition, which means the people who are there won't be as mistreated as if there were more than if there were more people. Which means that we're actually reducing the harm on these workers, and also we're reducing the harm and decreasing the trauma they will have later. They'll still have some, but less. Another thing is that all right, give me a second. I have something, I just have to find it. Okay, so in conclusion, taking away the porn industry would have very negative consequences on our society as a whole, and also would also would increase taxes, because there's less. The people who are earning won't be paying as much. We agree that the rich should pay more, but this is not the motion about whether the rich should pay more. It's about whether we should be keeping this ethnical tax for sex workers, which we say yes to. And that's how I finish my speech.
Okay, thank you. 7 minutes. Okay, third speaker of the proposition team, whenever you're ready.
So then, if everyone is ready,
Yes.
okay, then my speech will start in 3, 2, one. Panel, as third speaker from side proposition, two main things in my speech. First of all, a quick clarification on framework in order to clarify what side opposition brought into this round, which appears to be a bit messy, so let me make it clearer for you. But then finally, the rebuttals, the clashes, the weighing in this round, showing you why side proposition is the winning side. Quickly, on the issue that is brought up by the second speaker from side opposition. They say that if the industry were to shut off, people would lose their job. Now, we tell you in the first speech that the industry exploits millions of people, it ruins lives, it traumatizes people, and it creates addiction throughout the entire population. We believe that people who are in need should have other types of support. They should not have to resort to porn. However, in the current reality, there are still thousands of women that when they are in support, insofar as porn is still an option, they choose to go down that path. At the end of the day, the goal of our side is, in the long term, to eradicate the porn industry as a whole. Now, this might seem impossible, but it once looked impossible to eradicate prostitution. Then we were able to make it illegal, and then we were able to make it very much less common in Italy. We tell you that we should go down that path as well. We should educate people. We are always taking the trade-off of having less economical gains by shutting off the industry. We are never protecting the industry as side opposition chooses to do. The moment they choose to do that, they contradict themselves when they say that the industry is harmful to people and they should discourage people from joining it in the first place. Now, having clarified this, let's move on to the main point of the first point of rebuttal. Now, it stems from the idea that the tax is applied on agency and not on workers. But the core idea that I'm going to rebut is whether the tax is efficient or not. We said that A, it is not true that the tax is applied on the agency and not the workers, because the tax is applied on earnings coming from the porn industry. That means that whomever works within the porn industry will be subject to this tax. But then we tell you that at their highest ground, even if the tax were to be applied to the agency, that would still harm the person, the individual person working within the industry, because the agency would make less money. That means that the individual person would earn less money as well, as a consequence, obviously. If the agency is earning less, then they're not able to pay as much their individual workers. On this, why is this important? Because the agency can, in most cases, afford the cost of the tax. Insofar as they make a lot more money than the individual, because they have several people working for them. If it becomes less profitable, they will simply lower salaries even more, as I've cited before. Empirically, these agencies keep existing, and at the same time, platforms that free people from the need of an agency in the first place, as OnlyFans, are becoming increasingly more common. That means that the tax doesn't work for them. However, that means that in every possible case, the individual is harmed. And this is why the tax not being efficient is particularly important. Because we tell you that for rich individuals, the tax doesn't matter. They are able to support and to bear the cost of the tax. For poorer individuals, instead, the tax harms them. But I will tackle this stakeholder later in another clash. So let's just stick to the first two in the first place. All of what I've just said solves the issue of whether the tax is effective or not. Mind you that this is the basis for this round, because side opposition bases their entire case and their entire line on this idea. But when we tell you that the tax is not enough to tackle the incentives of the main agencies because they make enough money to sustain the cost, and that at their highest ground it might work on smaller agencies, but they are already being substituted by other platforms, and sex workers can resort to bigger industries and to bigger agencies instead, then we tell you that it is not enough to tackle the incentives of big porn stars. Then we're able to prove that for each of the stakeholders that we have analyzed, the tax is not enough. The agencies keep on existing. The people keep on resorting to porn. The big stars are not stopped. The propaganda still keeps on going on. Side opposition bases their line on the idea that the tax works. We prove to you that the tax doesn't work. We obviously win on this clash. On the stakeholder of the majority of sex workers instead. So that stakeholder that we have characterized in the first speech and that went mainly unresponded throughout the entire round, we tell you that the issue is that these people do not inherently want to join the industry. So a tax is not going to be enough to stop them, because they already face all of the issues that discourage them from joining in the industry instead. You know, they know about the industry being harmful towards them. They know about the industry being traumatizing. They know about them probably not making a lot of money. However, they're willing to bear these sacrifices in order to get till the end of the month. So then we tell you that the tax is not enough for them because of A, lack of education. If they're willing to make these sacrifices, they probably don't have the devices to get better jobs, and therefore they probably don't have the devices to actually know about the tax in the first place. They'll probably end up discovering about the tax at the end of the year, of the month, of the period when they need to pay their tax, and now they'll earn even less money. But then B, this will end up trapping them in the industry, because insofar as they'll be earning less money, then now they're going to have to spend more time within the industry. And side opposition admits that it's going to be hard for them to leave the industry in the first place. So then we tell you that what we should do is teach them to not join the industry instead of joining it and then making it even harder for them to leave, because now they've spent a lot more time within the industry because they're not making as much money and they don't see the way out. Before I move on to the other points, I will take a BOI.
You said that they would be earning even less money, but normally people who are at that such an extreme that they need to join it, wouldn't they have no money, almost no money at all?
Exactly. These people have no money at all. They resort to porn. Now, they need to make money in order to leave the porn industry, get themselves in a better situation, and have a good life. When you make them earn less money, because now on top of the tax that they're already paying, they have to pay 25% more, they're making less money. That means that they have to work more and for a longer time in order to have enough money to sustain their life within a month. That means that they're going to be trapped in the industry for a longer time. That means that they're going to be traumatized even more. That means that we are not willing to make them suffer. We are not willing to fund this industry. But then, let's see how we solve the issue instead. We tell you that we solve the issue because we actually invest on education. We teach people about how harmful the industry is in schools. We teach people from when they are young that that is not a solution, that the government can offer other support systems, and they just have to look for it. Why is our solution exclusive? Because of the analysis that we gave you in the first speech on political capital. We said that when the government spends its capital on this tax, then they don't have the moral responsibility to do anything about the issue anymore. They don't invest. At the end of the day, what stands on side opposition is the idea that the money can be reinvested in a good way. But we have already responded to this by saying that A, this money is not reinvested on education that solves the industry. We see this in the status quo, and we prove this with the capital incentive that we give you in the first speech. Secondly, this money is usually invested in the privatization and in fields that are not useful to society. And C, this is not important because either way, we're willing to take the trade-off because there are so many other ways to get the government some money. At the end of the day, they don't solve the issue. It is so clear. Vote for side proposition instead.
Okay, thank you. 8 minutes and 24. Judges, are you ready? Yes? Okay. So the third speaker of the opposition team.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. I am the third speaker of the opposition team, and I will explain why my team has the upper hand on this debate. I will start off by confutating what the proposition team has already said, and then I will move on two main macro areas that the debate has talked about a lot. So let's begin. The very first thing I would go against is the claim of the first speaker, which actually all the three speakers kept on saying it, is that these taxes won't solve this addiction, that pornography is a very big issue in the entire world, but actually we're talking about Italy in this debate, which is a thing that the proposition team has moved a lot outside of Italy, since we're talking about Italy in this very debate. In reality, this tax would decrease the addiction, the porn addiction, since it covers exposition to porn by producing less videos, and many sponsors would avoid giving them these big industries money. Therefore, they would be less seen by the public, these porn sites, basically. The second thing I would answer to, and it's also one of the, if I said POI, I don't know, I refuse it there anyways. I'm sorry. The second thing I would answer to, which also is part of the macro area, since we've talked a lot about industries, mainly the proposition team has talked a lot about industries. They claim that by putting this tax, by using this tax, we are arming the stakeholders, and we're arming the stakeholders, specifically, as the proposition team has said, the workers on these industries. The thing that they're actually forgetting about, the proposition team, is that we're not putting this tax, we're not adding this 25%. To this day, as my first speaker has already said, it has been used. This 25% tax is there, it's still there, and it is still being used. Why wouldn't it actually harm the stakeholders, the producers, the actors of this big industry? Why wouldn't it harm? Because this money for the taxes that are claimed by the taxes would actually be used for many different. I'm sorry. I'm good.
Okay, so you're saying that these taxes exist, and we agree on that. But today, pornography is actually raising. So please explain how this tax is actually useful and efficient, please.
I'm sorry, why this tax is useful? Because the porn addiction is increasing?
Yeah, pornography nowadays is increasing.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it right now. So, this tax is useful because this money that are actually earned by the state would be used towards various safety programs, such as to avoid revenge porn, which is a very big concern all around the world, or also used towards services that would actually help people to get to leave this industry. Your team, your proposition team, has talked a lot about Mia Khalifa, which it is indeed a correct example. It's not an Italian one, but yet to this day, Mia Khalifa is living a very normal life, regardless of her porn actress career. So it is an example, yes, but not that very correct, since she has been able to get out of the porn industry in not that long time, since there are services that actually help her out. So this 25% would also put many more controls on the very own workers, as I said, to avoid making their career even more harmful towards their personal life, as I said, to help Mia Khalifa or any other porn actor actually to get out of the industry. And as I said, this confutation is also one of my macro areas, the industries. We've talked a lot about it, and it is a very important thing to understand that we would actually use these 25% taxes, money that the state earns by these taxes, towards helping the stakeholders, not the workers, the porn workers, to get out of the industry by helping them out. The second one instead is to reduce harm, the second macro area. So the proposition team said that people struggle a lot to get out of the porn industry. Why is it? They begin this porn career because many people, oftentimes, they need money. And which one is one of the easiest way to earn money? As Martin said, it could be starting with the pornography, and maybe it would get harder as time passes to get out of it. But by using this 25%, as I've already explained it, and as my team has already said, yeah, go on.
Are you aware of the fact that joining the industry is actually a very, very hard decision because of all of the things that stops you from doing it? Therefore, we've told you that that 25% tax is probably not going to be enough to stop you, as we empirically see in the status quo.
Thank you for the long PI, but yet, as I already said, if many people don't have any other way to earn money, that could be one of their only way to earn something to live with. And the status quo, it's where they said it's 25%, it's already here. Your team is forgetting that it's already there, this 25%. We're not adding it, it's already there. And yeah. Yeah, and going back to the industries, as I said before, without this tax, which the proposition team would want to remove this tax, it harms even more removing it the porn actors, the workers, because industries would actually have no issue getting I'm sorry, with this I finished the speech. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. 7 minutes and 51. Okay. So for the rebuttal, the opposition team, if the judges are ready.
Yes.
Wait a second. Are the judges ready? Okay. Whenever you're ready, please.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon again. I'm Emma Patriarca, and I'm the reply of the opposition squad. As the reply, I would like to retrace the topics that were discussed during this debate, identifying 2 words that can represent our teams, that are the proposition and the opposition word. In the proposition word, we want to remove the ethical tax with the promise of helping workers, but the moment this tax disappears, the entire sector becomes more profitable and therefore even more aggressive. Firstly, the production and consumption of pornography is going to rise dramatically. Removing the tax lowers costs and increases margins, so platforms and agencies are incentivized to flood the market with even more pornographic content. That means more pressure on workers to produce constantly, to go further, and to accept conditions that they don't even probably want to live in. Secondly, the power of the big agencies grows unchecked because the ethical tax doesn't fall on individuals, but it falls on large companies and agencies. And when we remove it, we're going to give those powerful actors more profit and not more protection to workers. In the opposition world, firstly, the ethical tax serves as a legitimate force of discouragement. In our world, the state recognizes pornography as the real social externalities, so it's gonna place a proportional economic brake on the pornographic industry that, like we said, it's not the best industry to work and create content for. It means less hyperproduction, less pressure, and fewer people that are pushed into this sector out of desperation, because we're reducing the harm at the root. Secondly, the tax has a dual ethical and economic purpose. The pornography industry generates a huge profit, especially over time, and the state has every right to capture a part of that gain, of that profit. This revenue can be redirected into public goods or support services for those who want to leave the industry. Our world is going to redistribute the power and the resources away from the pornographic industry, from the profit in the hands of a few people, and towards public interest. Lastly, our world is going to preserve transparency and accountability, because this tax is going to apply specifically to pornographic income, forcing companies and platforms to register, declare profits, and to stay visible to public institutions. This is going to reduce the risk of hidden exploitation or coerced participation, stolen data, or even unregulated work that is a very big problem, especially in the pornography industry. So at the end of the debate, the choice is very clear. The proposition gives a world where the industry can only grow uncontrollably, where the exploitation becomes easier, and where vulnerable people are going to pay the price for agency profit. The opposition side is gonna give you a world where harm is reduced, power is balanced, and where the industry remains traceable, regulated, and accountable. And with that, I'm ending my speech.
Thank you. 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Okay. So, the reply from the proposition team. Are you ready, judges? Yes? Yes. Please.
Ok. 07. 07. Oh, l'ho detto così. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel. Opposition side's burden and the whole case was built on how the tax is efficient to discourage the porn industry and how it's beneficial for workers because they at least have their jobs secured. What we're trying to tell you is that prop wins because we have accomplished throughout the whole debate that our burden being the ethical tax is inefficient and it doesn't work. But how it doesn't work? First of all, we tell you that A, it is harmful for the workers and for the women that work in the environment. We're tied even more to the industry who are having difficulties in getting out of the industry. And why is that? When taxing the industries, we have told you and we have demonstrated to you that the harm, it doesn't go actually on the industry themselves, but it's directly more harmful to the people that actually work in the industries, being a majoritarian of women. And because they have less income from that, they are going to be even tied more to the industry that they did not actually 100% willingly choose to actually
get into. And we have demonstrated throughout the impositions of society and the various situations. And then B, we have told you that it doesn't work and the ethical tax isn't efficient because the industries persist and they harm mainly the workers. And over the years, we have seen how the industries did not decrease, they have increased, and the tax hence doesn't work. Then we are telling you that the opposition side money being reinvested, it's not actually that relevant and that important because we are telling you that even if in our side we have less money, we are willing to give that up in order to actually close those industries. And we're also telling you that the money is not exclusive to their side because we can get the money actually from other parts, and we have given you a list of things. Then third, we have that this money is not reinvested into solving the issue because, as we have told you, the government has already invested in the issue by posing the tax. Therefore, they don't actually have an incentive to do anything else about it. Panel. On probability, they choose to invest in the private sector because it makes them more money, not actually beneficial for discouraging the actual industry. Then we tell you that at the end, proposition wins because we are solving the issue, panel, but opposition hasn't done throughout the whole speeches. And how is that? We have given you a list of solutions. First of all, we're talking about talking about education, talking about the porn industries in the education. We have talked to you about the public campaigns, or even the support groups, or for example, legal repercussions that should go against Pornhub or like OnlyFans, for example, so these industries will not actually persist. And then we have at least don't harm women in need and further trap them into the porn industry. With saying that, we also tell you that their side gives us an inefficient ethical tax that is not actually working, and that's mainly why our side wins, and how we have demonstrated that it is unethical, which is probably the main reason why the tax was imposed in the first place. With that, that's why panel wins. Thank you, and I conclude my speech.
Thank you. 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, thank you to both teams. It was a difficult debate, so thank you very much for being good sport on that. Okay, we will leave you a few minutes, okay, and we come back here to give you the results. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.